In this video, I'm going to look at Brad and Angelina's compatibility. They're going through a rough spot right now with a divorce looming and both of them seeming to be separating. So I thought it'd be fun to look at their compatibilities and see if we can find out what are the problems, why can't they make it work, and if is it really one of those doomed compatibilities that you'd say, oh, no way, no chance. Or is it one of those compatibilities that you can say, wow, this is actually totally workable. Now, if we look at it and the compatibility is showing, yeah, it was doomed from day one, there's just too much stuff missing, too much bad stuff, then we know that really no matter how much growth they make as individuals, they're not going to be able to work it out and have a good relationship. But if, on the other hand, we see that, wow, the compatibility is pretty good, if it's better than average, then we know that the relationship's not working because of their lack of personal growth, which means the relationship can be salvaged as soon as each of them makes the shift they need to make within themselves to make them a healthier partner. So that's really one of the most common things I end up doing when I do compatibilities for people who are in love versus people who are planning on getting an arranged marriage. They come in when they're having troubles, and you have to look and say, okay, is this relationship viable? Can it really work long term? Or is it always going to ail them no matter how they grow? And quite often, I'd say most of the times, when I get those requests and look at compatibilities that way, there is really something so bad in the compatibility that no matter how much the people work on themselves, they're never going to really get what they need and want. And in fact, as they work on themselves, they're going to grow to a point where they go, why am I beating myself up this badly over another person? It just doesn't work and it's okay, and they move on. So those are the kind I usually see if they grow. Now, it's not that often that I see it where the compatibility is pretty good and the people are getting stuck. I like to see that because that's what long-term relationships have. There's no relationship that doesn't come along and get stuck sometimes and even get into serious trouble sometimes because of things that each person has to grow within themselves. So if we see a good compatibility and we see people coming to a point of separating even, but we see a good compatibility, it shows there's nothing wrong with the relationship. There's still just something wrong with each of them. And if they take the time and have the courage to work out that hard thing in themselves, they'll find their relationship to be better than any other relationship they're probably going to stumble across. So let's find out what is the case is with Brad and Angelina. And this is really the most important thing to do when you do compatibilities, is to be able to determine these cases. We've already seen several videos where I give examples of relationships that just had some huge holes in them. That really, no matter how much the people worked on themselves, those relationships were not going to be the best they could do. So let's see about Brad and Angelina. Okay, red-wise, Brad's got a lot of red with the King of Hearts card. He's got 5 planets: the Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, K2, so make that 6 planets in a red 6 of diamonds. And then he's got Rahu in the 6 of Hearts, and only Jupiter, Sun, and the Ascendant falling in black cards. So he's got more red than black. However, what he does have in black, his Sun and his Ascendant, those are both things that directly represent him, okay, as a male personal figure. So the fact that there is more red but such key planets in the black makes him a relatively well-balanced black-red person, which, as you know, is the kind of people who can grow into having a more balanced fulfillment in life, a balance between doing great things and also enjoying the nice things in life. So he has that capacity. And that also gives him some capacity to share in multi-dimensional ways with his female partner, if she can do it as well. Now looking at Angelina, she's the King of Diamonds, so that's a red. She's got her Moon, Mars, and Jupiter in the 2 of Diamonds, another red card. Then she has some really serious blacks with her Sun and Mercury in a black card in the Jack of Spades, and her Saturn, Venus, and Ascendant in the 4 of Clubs. So she's also got a lot of mix of black and red. So this is good. We see a somewhat balanced mix of black and red in each of their spreads. So that creates the potential for a lot of dynamic energy, a lot of synergistic energy and passion and positive, productive flow that can possibly come out. So that basic foundation is there, but we do, of course, have to look a lot more closer than that. But there's no imbalances, no serious imbalance of reds or blacks or anything like that. No serious reds missing, no serious blacks missing. So that's positive so far. Then let's look at suits. Brad has got hearts, he's got diamonds, so King of Hearts. Rahu's in the Six of Hearts. He's got a lot in diamonds. You say he's mostly strong in diamonds with Moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Saturn in the Six of Diamonds. And so most of the planets, more than half his planets are in Six of Diamonds. And then he's got his ascendant and ascendant and sun in the Jack of Spades, so he's got some strong spades. Jupiter's in the Four of Clubs, so he's got a little bit of clubs. And his hearts are on the weekend because all he has there is Rahu. So he's growing into more hearts. And that's very important because he is a King of Hearts person. For the King of Hearts, this receptive moon card is really, really important because that's the card that we connect to. And that's the one heart that's in the first 7 cards of the King of Hearts. So that's a critical heart for them. And he has Rahu in it. So he's a King of Hearts who's growing into a more sophisticated and fulfilled heart. But it'll have some challenges during that growth. But he does have some good hearts to offer, but they're weak and they will be growing as he matures. Okay? What he is missing is nothing. He has a little of everything at least. That's great. So Brad can connect and interchange with just about most everyone that he wants to. But he will suffer some lack, some feelings of lack in the hearts department because where Rahu is, you always feel like something's missing a little bit. So he's going to have a hard time being emotionally fulfilled because Rahu's in the Six of Hearts. Now Angelina, she's got a King of Diamonds along with Jupiter, Mars, and Moon in the Two of Diamonds. So she's mostly a diamond person. She's also got some spades and she's got some clubs with the Sun and Mercury in the Jack of Spades and the Ascendant, Venus, and Saturn in the Four of Clubs. What she doesn't have is she doesn't have any hearts at all. Okay, so she's missing a suit. So what that does for her, it shows she has a hard time making the deep emotional connections to people where she really feels bonded to a person. That's what hearts do. Instead, she'll approach relationships from a more mental place, which is club, from a more diamond-me place, which is a place of utility and mutual benefit, and from a spade place, which is a point of view, a place of personal growth. But the family deep commitment, emotional commitment, bonding comes from the hearts, and she's low on that. That's not her nature. There's nothing wrong with being low on that. It just shows she has a different role than to be blindly bonded to somebody, which hearts are capable at times. But just because she doesn't have hearts doesn't mean as a human person she's not going to crave hearts. Okay, because even if we don't have something in our spread, we still need it. We still want it, and we'll still get fed by it. But we can't really have a lot of it in our lives. We can't bring a lot of it into our lives. Okay? So she's completely devoid of those hearts. So she'll feel time where emotionally she's not feeling happy and settled and fulfilled, and she'll blame it on whatever's in her life, but the truth is she just doesn't have the hearts to start with. And at the end of the day, we got what we are. If we have hearts in our spreads, we'll find hearts in our lives. If we don't have hearts in our spreads, we won't get so much hearts in our life. Okay? So hearts are missing for her, and so she'll naturally blame Brad as part of that, and he's somewhat responsible for that, even though he's a King of Hearts, a really heartfelt guy. In his practical utility of being hearts, with that Rahu in the Six of Hearts, he's going to be making a lot of mistakes and dropping a lot of balls. Okay? But he is a more heartsy person than Angelina and can grow into a more heartsy, emotionally bonding person as he works out his moon card. Okay? Now, he has a stronger need to connect on a hearts level because he has some hearts, but Angelina doesn't have any. So we can see in some ways how he's not going to be able to be fulfilled by Angelina. However, his hearts can really well work with her strong spades and with her good solid clubs. And that can create a lot of growth and happiness in the individuals and a lot of fun and romance. So they do have that going for them at least. But the real deep level of feeling cared for, really deeply cared for, that the hearts people tend to need is something Brad's going to be struggling getting from someone who's little less sensitive, someone like Angelina Jolie. Okay? And so there is that deficit there. Okay? So he can't find those hearts. Now, otherwise, you know, his strong diamonds can relate really well to her strong diamonds, her dominant diamonds. They both have a lot of diamonds, and as you know, diamonds give people physical beauty or practical skills or great talents that somehow make them important, valuable people. And of course, sometimes it just gives a lot of money. And Brad and Angelina have both of those because they do have so many diamonds in their spreads. But having diamonds, a lot of diamonds in each spread, shows that they both can appreciate each other's need for value and what's important to the other person, and respect what's important for each other. And through that, feel good about themselves and be able to be themselves with each other more. So that's important to have that shared suit. They've also got a lot of spades to share with the Jack of Spades, which means they both see the need for making growth and becoming stronger people, and for determining to do hard things and getting them done. So they are both into that, and they can respect that in the other person, so they can connect well with that. And then they have a little bit of clubs. His Jupiter's in the 4 of clubs. She's got plenty of planets in the 4 of clubs, with Venus and Saturn in the ascendant there. They can also be at ease with each other and comfortable with each other on an intellectual level. So those are all good. And then the diamonds, of course, can cross over to make life better with Angelina's clubs and spades, and his spades and clubs can cross over to her diamonds to enrich their lives, which they've really done in a huge way. So far it's looking pretty good, other than there's a shortage of hearts. And again, hearts are that renewing quality. Hearts are the things that make people feel exhausted, get drained, and then come together and renew each other. So life beats you up, you connect with people with hearts, and you get renewed, and you get refreshed, and you get vitalized, and you get nourished. These people are struggling with that, okay? It's a hard thing for them to do with each other, and it's sort of a hard thing for each of them to do with anybody, because they don't have really great hearts. Angelina doesn't have any, and Brad's are not great because Rahu's there. Remember, Rahu's one of the planets that shows where you're going to suffer. So this is the big deficit. They haven't been able to reinvigorate each other, to renew each other, to heal each other. And so as problems come and life gets harder, it becomes harder and harder to deal with those things. And when that happens, there's always a time that comes where people are at the end of their rope with each other because they just haven't got their needs met on many levels, their emotional needs, and they're emotionally starved at a certain point and can't figure out how to be happy with each other. And then a big crisis like this comes, which gives the people the chance to have a better relationship. And that can happen by them working out their emotional neediness, or it can happen by them finding somebody that they're more compatible with. And either way works just fine. It just depends which way people are going. Right now it seems like Brad and Angelina are, going away from each other and deciding to not improve their emotional neediness and instead separate. But let's see if there's potential for them to actually overcome their emotional neediness and continue to grow together as a couple. And to see that more clearly, we really need to examine all the cards and get a really clear picture of what their compatibility really exists, how it really exists. All right, he's a king of hearts, she's a king of diamonds. So they both appreciate the good things in life. They both appreciate the importance of a life worth living, and they'll both make sacrifices to have that life. However, what they're willing to sacrifice is very different, because reds, diamonds, and hearts don't agree on things. They have the similar needs but different ways. So even though they're both kings and both people who are capable of making a lot of sacrifices, they're not going to have the same idea of what should be sacrificed and what allowances should be made. Okay? So that shows in many ways they're very different people that at times will have very different ways of doing things. And that can cause them to spend less time together, or if they spend a lot of time together, to start sometimes feeling a little frustrated or dominated by the other person because they're not able to do enough of their things the way that they would just innately do them. So those two kings are a bit of a blemish in their compatibility. Their sun cards, which is another strong self factor. You know, the sun is who you are, what you bring in, and what you have to work with. Well, they're both a red, a diamond, and a heart. Diamond and hearts are repelling. They're both receptive. So if you take a magnet and you take both of its south poles and you try to touch them together, they push apart, right? You got to have one south pole and one north pole. In the cards, that means a black and a red card. Two black cards that are the different suit don't work, and two red cards of different suit don't work. Reds work with the same suit, so hearts work with hearts, and so on, but diamonds don't work well with hearts. There's a repelling there. And so there's a disappointment there. And this happens because they're very different people again. The sun makes them very different people in their core. At their roots, they're very different people. Now, we have to also look at the sun to see what kind of condition the sun's in and see if their sun could help improve upon that. And fortunately for them, it can. The sun's in the Jack of Spades for Angelina. And for Brad, he also has the sun in the Jack of Spades. So their suns can really vibe together and work together and feel at peace with each other. So the sun card's okay. It's nothing to brag about, but it's not disruptive to the relationship. But it's not something that makes it worth keeping the relationship. It's a mediocre thing. Okay. Let's see if we can find something better. Their moon card. He's got a red heart, 6 of hearts moon card. She has a 4 of clubs, a black card. Clubs and hearts are romantic together, they're flirtatious together, they're fun together. And with a 4 of clubs and a 6 of hearts, a 4 and a 6, we show the capacity for having a good foundation between them emotionally that creates more fulfillment, which is the 6. So that's a really nice combo. But we also need to modify that based on the moon. His moon, or her moon rather, is in the 2 of diamonds. His moon's in the 6 of diamonds. They're both diamonds. That's great. Diamonds can appreciate each other, validate each other, and feel good about the same things. 2s and 6s do fairly well together. They're not a power couple like a 3 and a 6, or as good as a 5 and a 6, or something like that, but a 2 and a 6 can work together. So emotionally, they're pretty well adapted to each other. And that means they can spend a lot of time around each other and both get what they need. So you remember the moon is what we need to feel okay. So whenever we have a need for something to feel okay, that's the moon. So we might need a pizza. I got to have pizza for dinner today to feel right. So you want to go fulfill that need. Or if your partner, at the same time that you have the need for pizza, also is craving pizza, you can go have pizza with your partner and spend more time fulfilling your needs. But let's say when every time you feel like pizza, your partner definitely doesn't want pizza and wants to eat, say soup. Well, now you can't eat together. You have to go to separate restaurants or cook separate meals, and you don't spend as much time together. Or you try to do it together anyway, and the dominant person gets their needs met, and the less dominant person suffers, and eventually becomes drained because they don't get their needs met. That won't happen when you got good moons like this and good moon cards. This shows two people who can spend a lot of time with each other and both get enough needs met to be satisfied. The problem we have is that Brad has Rahu in his moon card, Angelina has Saturn in her moon card, and Rahu and Saturn are separating planets, which means both of them has a big issue with being separated emotionally. They're not anchored in their hearts to really feel good innately. So they have more needs that they want to have met by their partner, by the world, and those needs can't be met because the moon needs are needs that have to be met within yourself, within your consciousness, ultimately. Venus is the needs you can fulfill through your partner and the world, but not the moon. And so Angelina has Saturn in the moon card. Brad has Saturn with the moon. So you can see they both have some emotional growth to make. Yet here they are with compatible moon cards and compatible moons, which means their relationship is totally ready to make them emotionally fulfilled with each other. But they still have to deal with their personal limitations to how emotionally fulfilled they're capable of being in their present state of consciousness. So this means as soon as they take a step up in their emotional consciousness, their relationship can get a lot better. So I think this moon card is causing a big, not the compatibility, but their individual moon cards are causing them a lot of the trouble in their relationships. Not just this one, but their previous ones. And one of the unfortunate things about rich and wealthy people and popular people is that it oftentimes seems to them that they can just go get their needs met somewhere else. But you can't get the needs of the moon card met unless you're emotionally healthy. So neither one of them, until they become more emotionally healthy, can run out and have those moon card needs met. In fact, Brad and Angelina have very compatible moons and moon cards. But they're not getting all their emotional needs met because they themselves are each crippled in somewhat emotionally until they repair that, until they integrate into becoming more emotional individuals. They won't be able to reap the full reward of that moon card. The fact that their moon cards are good together, but they're compatible moon cards, but that they each have a blemish shows that as soon as they grow as people, they could heal a big part of that part of their relationship, because there's nothing wrong with that part. There's something wrong with each of them. And the only way that part of their relationship will work to its highest ability, which is very high, is if they work on themselves more. Okay? So that's a very critical part of their relationship, especially since you'll see in 2015, December on his birthday, Brad went into the Six of Hearts moon card, which is holding that Rahu. And all of a sudden, his whole emotional life is falling apart. So this is his chance to integrate that Rahu and grow, and perhaps in that growth, stay with Angelina if she makes that growth. Of course, if neither of them make that growth, they're just going to go on to have another dead-end relationship. Okay, but let's look at their other cards. Mars card, which has to do with sharing sexual passion and directing their energies positively together. Well, the Mars card is great. Angelina's Two of Diamonds is extremely compatible and synergistic with his Four of Clubs. That's a lot of talent, a lot of capacity for success and, fulfilling ambitions and, putting their energy into things that work. And then we have to look at Mars too. His Mars is in the Six of Diamonds. Her Mars is in the Two of Diamonds. They're both diamonds, and twos and sixes are fairly compatible. So they've got a great Mars. They've got a great ability to join their energies together and be productive, and also join their energies together sexually. But one thing you'll notice is that the Mars card follows after the Moon card, which follows after the Sun card. So ultimately, we can't get the full benefit of a card if the card before it is not working 100%. Their moon cards are compatible, but within themselves, their moon cards aren't satisfied. So neither of them can get the full benefit of their great Mars compatibility. But as soon as they become more emotionally mature within themselves with this moon card, that Mars card is just going to fly, and their energy is going to really work well together. Okay? Then their Mercury card is a Jack of Spades for Angelina and a Two of Diamonds for Brad. Now Mercury is one of their most compatible cards. You can't beat a Jack with a 2 because remember, Jack rules the 1, the 2, and the 3. Has a special relationship with the aces, the 2s, and the 3s. And Spades and Diamonds are super productive, produce a lot of growth in people and a lot of success and a lot of resources and wealth and stuff like that. Mercury's helped, that Mercury card has helped them. Mercury itself is in the Six of Diamonds for Brad And for Angelina, Mercury, I lost it, is in the Jack of Spades. Jack of Spades does great with Six of Diamonds because diamonds and spades are productive with each other in personal growth and material growth. And Jacks love sixes and can increase the fulfillment of the six. Sorry. And sixes can help stabilize Jacks a bit so that they have a more steady, successful life. So they have a great Mercury card. This is one of the big cards of their success together. Now Mercury is one of those cards that lets you do a lot in the world, do a lot in life together when they're compatible. And this is one of the reasons they've been successful as a super couple. Okay? So that's a good card, but nobody marries for the Mercury card. People marry for the Mars card, the Venus card, the Moon card, and then after that, the Jupiter card. But it's important to have some decent Sun and Mercury and Jupiter strength in order for people to have a decent foundation in life, to be able to build a successful life together. Because being happy but living out of a rusted out car is not a great way to live. So their Mercury card's really, really good. Their Jupiter card is a problem. We've got a Jack with an 8. Not the best connection because it's an 8 of clubs with a Jack of Spades. And spades and clubs are very repelling. They have very different ways of doing things, and they can't do things together. And what does Jupiter represent? It's fulfilling what they see as their greatest purpose, and it also is the purpose of raising children. All right, Jupiter rules children. Jupiters themselves, Brad's is in a 4 of clubs, Angelina's is in a 2 of diamonds. Jupiters themselves are very compatible because diamonds and clubs are very productive together, make a lot of growth together, a lot of success together, create a lot of understanding. And then, of course, 2s and 4s are extremely synergistic, is really connected, very stable when you get 2 and 4s together. So while Jupiters are great, their basic philosophy, their basic sense of purpose, and their basic ideas of raising children are going to be quite different because of these, the spade with the club in the Jupiter card. So the Jupiter card is just so-so. Now, the Jupiter card becomes really important for them, though, because they have so many children, right? If they didn't have any kids, they'd probably have a lot less stress between them. Now, this Jupiter card is not terrible, but it's not good. It's mediocre. So it's not a good enough card to save the relationship for, but it's not a good enough excuse to get rid of the relationship either. In fact, we really haven't seen any card that's bad enough to throw the relationship out. Instead, what we've seen is a great Moon card, a great Mars card, which are two things that people really want to share with a couple. So even though the Sun and Jupiter have just been so-so, the fact that Mercury is fantastic will make up for those. And we're looking at, so far, pretty good compatibility in many respects. Their Venus card, we got a 6 of diamonds with an 8 of clubs. 8 of clubs, yeah. Clubs and diamonds work well together. They're productive. They maintain interest. They learn and they grow in a really useful and enjoyable fashion. A great connection. 6s and 8s is a decent numerological connection too. So Venus's cards are pretty good. Venus the planet, the other half of the story, Angelina's is in the 6 of diamonds. Brad's is in the 6 of diamonds. Angelina's in the 4 of clubs, another club and diamond. Wonderful. We like that. That gives a lot of synergy and flow of energy between them. Whenever you get a black and red, you get that powerful, energetic flow between two people that makes them feel alive with each other. And they have plenty of that. And we have another 4 and 6. This is stability that creates more fulfillment. And fulfillment that's so good, you want to keep things going and keep things stable. That's a great Venus. So their Venus card is great. As I've mentioned, people marry for the Venus, Mars, and Moon cards. They're the best cards they have. They married for what most people want. And in addition, they got an okay Sun card and a fantastic Mercury card to help maintain them, allow them to be successful together. And really the biggest problem I'm seeing so far, though we're not done, is they both have either Rahu or Saturn in the Moon card. So they both have emotional growth to make. And if they don't make that emotional growth, they're not going to be happy with anybody. If they make it, it's looking like they could totally work things out. All right, Saturn card next. 4 of spades for Angelina, 6 of diamonds for Brad. 4 and 6s, compatible again. Good compatibility. Spades and diamonds, excellent. So, Saturn, which is ability to suffer difficulties, to deal with hardships together, to wait things out, to persevere through the hard things that life throws at them, their Saturn cards are compatible. How about the Saturn planet? Saturn planet, his is in the 6 of diamonds, hers is in the 4 of clubs. So they have that compatibility too. They have a 4-6 compatibility both in the house, the card, and the ruler of the card, and with Saturn. So that's great. And what you'll see in this spread so far, we saw so much 4-6 stuff. And 4-6 stuff, it's a good numerical combination. 4s give stability, 6 gives fulfillment. So it gives a stable fulfillment. It's the white picket fence type fulfillment. What it doesn't give is like the 3-6 fulfillment. The 3-6 fulfillment is that super passionate, excitable fulfillment. And doesn't give like the 6-9 or even the 3-9 fulfillment, which is a deep, almost unearthly fulfillment. The 4-6 is just a really good, solid, pragmatic, this is really as good as life gets type fulfillment. Realistically, this is good as life on earth gets type fulfillment, which is great. But we're dealing with two passionate people. And I'm using that word passion as a negative word, showing they both have needs shown in their moon cards. So they're going to passionately want to fulfill those needs. And out of that passion, forget the good things they have. Forget the good, steady, solid, dependable fulfillment that life can give, which they can very much give to each other. All their best compatibilities, pretty much all of them have a 4-6 thing benefiting them. Okay? So far, the only reason I see that they're having problems is because they're both emotionally immature and they'd be having problems with anybody thanks to Rahu or Saturn in their moon card. And the fact that they are a little different with the King of Hearts and a King of Diamonds, but that's not enough to ruin the good Moon, the good Mars, and the good Venus, all of which are fantastic and very stable. I think a lot of what's happening is that a little bit of boredom has set in, especially on Angelina's chart, because she's also got Saturn starving the Moon, and she wants a more fiery thing going on rather than the good, stable 4-6 thing that they can give. And then the other problem is children are a little difficult, but not enough to ruin things. So a little bit of difference between them as people, and both needing to make some emotional growth. Those are the two things that are making the relationship not work. And both those things are very manageable if they would get the proper insights and be open to the truths about themselves. Like I said, though, unfortunately, when people are beautiful, famous, or wealthy, any one of those, they just innately think they can go out and get something better all the time. Whereas people who are ugly, poor, and nobody knows, they kind of know that they don't feel like they can just go grab someone and they're else someone new. And so they're usually going to be more willing to try to work on themselves, fix their problems, and move on. One of the other things that we see here is both of them have a lot of diamonds. They're both diamond-heavy people. Angelina's got her King of Diamonds birth card with Moon, Mars, Jupiter, and diamonds. That's 4 strong diamonds. Brad's got Moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn in the 6 of diamonds. Lots of diamonds. And diamonds people are the slowest to change. Diamonds are the most fixed in their ideas, the most fixed in their values. They're the least adaptable people. Okay? They're the least liable to compromise. They're the ones who see things as right and wrong, black and whites the most readily. They're very strong in their idea of what's right and what's valuable. So diamonds, when you see relationship problems with diamonds, that's when you're going to see the most problems. When you see relationship problems with people who've got hearts and clubs, those people are most able to work out their relationship difficulties. Those people can readily go to the brink of destruction with each other and work it out. Spades can do a decent job. They're like in between. Spades, though, they usually get to a point where they just want to withdraw and they just don't want any part of it. But diamonds, they get to where they get critical and they get these ideas that what you did is just wrong and I'm never going to forgive you and it's never going to be okay and you can never make up for it. And they don't believe, they don't try to look for the reasons of why people are miserable. They don't try to understand the reasons why someone's not happy or why someone did something to them. They don't want to know the explanation of what the other person was going through and what screwed up the other person, how it's hard for them to behave. Diamonds people don't want that. Diamond people just say, this is what I experienced, this is what I see, that's the reality. Everything else, that's all hoopla, and it doesn't change the fact that you're an idiot. And so with that attitude, diamonds, when it gets to a certain point with something, have a much harder time to reconcile or to fix things than any other suit. And these are both diamonds heavy people, especially Angelina. I would call her more diamond centered due to the fact that her birth card's a king of diamonds, due to the fact that her moon, the most important planet for the woman, is in the two of diamonds, and due to the fact that her ascendant lord, which is the moon, is also in the two of diamonds. Whereas Brad at least has a king of hearts, and his sun, which is more important than his moon, is in the jack of spades. So Angelina is a bit more on the diming edge of the relationship and making it hard for Brad. She just doesn't believe his bullshit, doesn't believe he can fix things. And, you know, if she was a more clubby, heartsy person, Brad would have a way better chance. So what concerns me most about them being able to resolve something in a miraculous last-minute fashion, or even after a year or two, which often happens in life and in Hollywood, is the fact that they're just such strong diamond people. And they're and with strong diamond people, they usually, when they get to this point, they need to get away and experience something worse before they can go, maybe what I had wasn't that bad after all. They need to go evaluate their last situation or their present situation against another concrete situation. Okay? If those diamonds weren't so strong and stubborn in their way of thinking based on their experiences, I would say they could totally work this out, no problem. But with those diamonds being so strong in their lives, I think they probably need to go out and get their teeth kicked in a little bit and realize that, wait a minute, I actually had a pretty damn good compatibility with that person if I just hadn't been so needy about certain things. If I just hadn't had emotional expectations that weren't realistic. If I just been a little more mature. And I think that's a possibility because I don't see anything in their compatibility that makes me say, oh, you're screwed, you should have never gotten together. I see a lot of things that most people would kill for in their compatibility. You know, this is a much better than average compatibility. But it's with people who have some big emotional needs that they don't understand how to fulfill, and people who are diamonds. They're fixed in their ways, they're not as adaptable, they're not as flexible, and they're not as understanding. More so on Angelina's chart, in Angelina's spread than on Brad's. All right, let's quickly look at the rest of these planets. Rahu cards. Brad's is a 4 of spades. Angelina's is a 10 of hearts. Spades and hearts, wonderful. That can create growth of love and strength of character between both of them. 4s and 10s work well together. It's a good, solid, stable connection. The Rahu card is about doing the new things in life that you're not really prepared for. They can help each other with those things with this Rahu card. How does Rahu match up though? He has his in a 6 of diamonds. She has her in an 8 of clubs. Hearts and clubs work pretty well together. And 6s and 8s, or hearts and clubs work great together. 6 and 8s work well together. So they have compatible Rahus. That means they can venture forth into the new areas of their life with full support and even mutual benefit from each other. Their K2 cards are both red 10s. Well, they're both 10s, so they want to connect to the biggest, most abundant goodness there is, but they're hearts and diamonds. They're going to do it in very different ways. Their K2 cards are not compatible. So they won't be able to make their deepest connections to life, their deepest spiritual growth together. But really, as I've mentioned, K2 cards, Rahu cards even, are not that important for real life relationships. For real life relationships, it's the planets Sun through Saturn that rule the show, that run the show. Then the K2s, Brad's is in the Six of Diamonds. Angelina's, I've lost it, where is it? Is in the Jack of Spades. Jacks do great with sixes, diamonds do great with spades. So they have a fair K2 compatibility, and they can connect to life in a deeper way, good enough. Then the very important ecliptic card, which has to do with their path. 8 of spades on Angelina, a 10 of diamonds on Brad. Spades and diamonds can be successful together, productive together, and grow together. And 8s and 10s, well, you know 10s work good with any other number. So this is a great ecliptic card. And of course, this is what's allowed them to succeed as a couple, to allow their relationship to really promote in many ways their careers and their success in life. They've been such a famous couple due to their marriage. It's helped them career-wise. Now, how's their 10th cusp? He's got a 10 of diamonds because the 10th cusp vibes to the ecliptic card. He has a 10 of diamonds, a 2 of diamonds, and her 10th cusp is the 2 of diamonds. This is great. They're the same. Very, very compatible 10th cusp card. So this is what's allowed them to have a great degree of success and feel and be a power couple in many ways. But nobody marries for the ecliptic card. People marry for the Moon, Mars, and Venus cards, which they all have. Unfortunately, their own issues are getting in the way of taking advantage of what's a pretty damn good compatibility, which is much better than your average compatibility, actually. Lastly, we'll look at the outer planet cards. The Uranus cards, the energy to grow into a stronger individual, to become more of who they really are. We got an Ace of Hearts for Angelina and an 8 of Spades for Brad. Super compatible cards, super compatible numbers. So they can grow together as individuals. They can appreciate the individual that each one is growing into. But we have to look at Uranus too. His Uranus is in the 2 of diamonds. Her Uranus is in the 6 of diamonds. They're both diamonds, so they can appreciate and value that process in each other. 2s and 6s are pretty compatible too. So Uranus is very compatible. Neptunes are Ace of Diamonds with Ace of Hearts. Okay, they both want a new connection to life. Neptune is that card that connects us to all of life, that lets us connect to and experience the God that's in everything. The Neptune card is the Vishnu card. And they're not compatible. They both want something new, but something very different. Angelina wants a diamond, Brad wants a heart. So you see how this whole thing is going? Where they don't get along is with Angelina wanting a diamond every time and Brad wanting a heart every time. Okay? And neither of them getting anything together as a result. Now, Neptune cards aren't connecting. How about Neptune itself? His Neptune's in the 4 of clubs. Her Neptune is in the 8 of clubs. Well, at least the 4s and 8s are connecting pretty good. They're both clubs. So Neptune's okay. It's good enough. Okay? But Neptune also gives like a heart quality feeling. It's a connectiveness. So their ability to connect with that Neptune's a little less. But again, Neptune card never makes or breaks a relationship. Their Pluto cards, he's an Ace of Diamonds, she's a Queen of Diamonds. Aces work good with everything, and diamonds work great with diamonds. So they have a compatible Pluto card. So this means they can go through ego bashings and be supportive and understanding of that, and healthily assist in the process instead of just being the hammer end of the process. But let's look at Pluto and see how true that continues. They've got a 2 of diamonds for Brad, a 6 of diamonds for Angelina. They're compatible once again. Okay? So, their outer planets, they got a good Pluto, they got a good Uranus, and just a so-so Neptune, but that's good enough. So they can make a lot of huge personal growth with each other and grow into the biggest, best people they can be with each other. They just are stubborn diamonds people with some emotional needs that they're still expecting the world to fulfill, even though they haven't fulfilled them within themselves. And I think if they can just heal that Moon card of their own moon cards, their relationship can be renewed and take off. But with those many diamonds that they've got, with being strong diamond people, I just don't see them being able to do it until the more diamond person, which is Angelina, goes out and gets her teeth kicked in. She needs to go out and suffer and go, wait a minute, Brad was better than I remembered. You know, Brad is actually better if I'd just been a little more mature. As soon as she realizes that, I think she'll go think that maybe she should get back with Brad. Brad, of course, because he's got some more hearts, he wants to make things work, and he doesn't want to get canned and all that stuff, because he's a more connective person. But the other thing that could happen is Angelina might go out and not get her teeth kicked in. She might find someone who her diamonds go, all right, this is more like it. This is how I want to be treated. This is more what I expect. In which case, we're never going to see Brad again. But I don't see anything in their compatibility that makes me say it's over. If I could get them in my office, if they called me in for a reading, I would say, hey, this is worth fighting for. This is worth getting over your petty little needs for, especially since you've invested so much. And lots of compatibilities I'll see, and I'll say, run. No, don't even try to work it out. Just separate as harmoniously as possible and go start over with somebody else. You'll do a lot better. With these people, I'm saying, look, just grow up and take advantage of something that, while not perfect, is really pretty damn good, and which consists of the last 10 years of your life as well. But I don't think that possibility will happen until Angelina's diamonds get a taste for something worse. So we shall see how that happens. Maybe at some point when we get back into a predictive course, I will take the time to try to predict the possibility of them actually getting together. But they can do it if they just want to make the personal growth to do it. Nothing's stopping them. There's no reason to throw each other out. They both just have some issues. So I like it when I see that. These are the compatibilities I like when they're in trouble, because they're salvageable. They're salvageable. When there's some bad things, like we saw in those other examples I gave of those non-famous people, none of those relationships were ever going to be ideal relationships. None of them had the possibility to ever be good. No matter how much those people improved and became better people, they're still going to go, wait, something's really missing in my life that I should rightly have. But Brad and Angelina, they don't have enough of that missing compared to how much they really can offer each other to warrant not fighting it out. If only Angelina didn't have all those diamonds. Okay, thank you.